If you are a neurodivergent entrepreneur or professional, whether that's ADHD, ASD, OCD, or you don't even resonate with any of these labels, but you know that your brain works differently than most people, and you're struggling to prioritize your health and fitness because you have so much that you're already doing with your family or your business, then you're going to want to stay until the end of this video because I'm going to break down the very first step you're going to need to take in order to resolve this. Welcome back to the Neurodivergent Superbrain series, brought to you by the 25-Hour Day. My name is Colin Response. I'm an entrepreneur, an internationally award-winning performing artist, and global ambassador for one of the largest luxury brands in the world. And I did all of this with what most people call ADHD and obsessive compulsive disorder. Personally, I disagreed. So I built a business that's helped now over 150 neurodiverse entrepreneurs and professionals rewire their brains for efficiency so that they can execute the vision that they have, not just for their business, but for their lives in half the time and with half the effort that you are putting in right now. And today I am blessed to be here with our guest, Jody. Now, Jody is a neurodivergent entrepreneur. She is an acne specialist and founder of an acne clinic and an inclusive skincare brand. And today I'm going to show her why she is stuck so that she can be empowered to decide if she wants to remove this barrier from her life today. And like usual, I'm going to do it while walking backwards. So I would like to introduce our lovely guest, Jody. How are you doing?
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
You too. I have your submission and I'm just going to pull it up and we're just going to start with having you read it aloud.
I am struggling with prioritizing self-care, going to the gym because it feels like another daunting task. And I have so much I'm already doing for my family and my goals for my work and working in my business.
Now, if you're watching this and you are a neurodivergent entrepreneur or professional, or like I said, you just like your brain works differently than most people, and you're facing your own challenge, comment what your challenge is below this video, because one of you may be selected to be invited on for your own episode of the Neurodivergent Superbrain. So the simple first thing we're going to need to do is dive into what these specific things mean. When we say that I'm struggling to prioritize self-care, for you, it seems like self-care is specifically going to the gym. So if that's the case, how do you want to be feeling instead of struggling to prioritize going to the gym?
I want to feel like I have enough time to work on my weight loss goals.
Very specific, excellent. So what you would say, we have more than enough time to work on my weight loss goals.
That sounds even better.
Now, it feels just like another daunting task. How do you want it to feel?
Easy. I have
Yes.
time to integrate it into my daily routine.
Now, that is your family and business. Is that accurate right here when we were talking about daily routine?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And you say work in business. When you say work in business, are you combining it as the same thing, or are we talking about the clinic and then skincare brand as two separate things? Just so I'm clear. I want to make sure. I want to make sure I have everything.
Yeah, that as two separate things.
Okay, perfect. I have more than enough time to work on my weight loss goals. So the first thing that comes up here is, well, what specifically is the weight loss goal?
Yeah, I would like to lose at least 50 pounds.
Okay, so now this has evolved from more than enough time to work on my weight loss goals to I have more than enough time to lose 50 pounds. So the next question becomes within what time frame?
I mean, I feel like the time frame has been ongoing.
Mhm.
I mean, as soon as possible, but realistically, by the end of the year.
So we have a year. So that's where we need to start ultimately. And I'm really glad we brought this up because there are a lot who are watching this right now on their own personal weight loss journey who have focused so much time and energy on building their business or their professional life or their family, and they happen to put themselves last on the list. So if you have more than enough time to lose 50 pounds in a year, first things first is like we would need to know how many pounds we actually need to lose if we were going to lose 50 pounds in a year. And this is where most people face the initial challenge, which is what you mentioned. It's an ongoing thing. The sooner the better, but there hasn't actually been any designated time. And you've heard me mention this before. In order for you to accomplish an objective, there has to be a clear definition of it. It needs to be a clear destination, or else you don't have any way to measure whether or not it is going to be successful. And for those folks watching this, you don't need to be an expert in health and fitness in order to apply this. Now, in my particular scenario, one of the first businesses I owned was a personal training business, and I did that for a decade. So I actually do have context and understanding, but it would not be necessary in order for you to apply the principles that we're talking about here. Because before we get to the answers, we actually need to get to the questions. Because once we understand what questions need to be answered, there's multiple places you could get that answer, so long as you have the right questions. So first thing we have to do is we need to look at how much time actually is that. So we have 50 pounds divided by the 12 months of the year. We're losing, just about 4 pounds a month. That's what we would want to be accomplishing. If you divide that for another 4 weeks, because there's 4 weeks in a month, you just divide that by 4. And then you have just over a pound a week is what you want to be losing. Now, you got 52 weeks in a year, and you look at losing 50 pounds. So simplest way to do it probably would have just been this, and it would give you roughly the exact same answer, right? Essentially, you want to lose just over a pound a week. So that's the very first thing we actually need to do. Clarify what is our destination. Now, you're not going to reasonably be like, oh, I want to lose, divide this by the 7 days of a week, and be like, I want to lose 0.14 pounds each day. Like, that's just not how the body functions. Even on a weekly basis, it's still pretty general fluctuations. This is the personal trainer in me saying that you would look at the average weight at the end of the week to actually give you a truer idea of how much weight was lost, because your weight will constantly fluctuate with food. Just being a woman, there's so many aspects, and that's aside from what you're doing to lose that weight. But that's neither here nor there for the aspect of this. So I would round up and say I'm looking to lose 5 pounds a month. If I figure out how to lose 5 pounds in a month, then at the end of the year, I actually lost 50 pounds without this being this crazy arduous thing where you're trying to lose like 15 pounds a month, trying to fit this into your schedule. That's not the point here. So the next most logical question is, well, I actually just don't know how to lose 5 pounds a month. So let's go back over here. Now we're looking at, I have more than enough time to lose 5 pounds a month. Okay. Now, month one, you might not be like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I look completely different. But the key thing to remember, and this isn't even just true with your health and your fitness, this is true across the board. The reason we are moving in any direction is because some behavior is incrementally doing this instead of incrementally doing this. One day, you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, wow, I actually, put on quite a bit of weight. But you never actually really saw it happen, per se. And the opposite is also true. What will happen is you will wake up one morning 6 months later and be like, oh, I actually lost a decent amount of weight. But what's more important about that is when you get to that stage, there isn't a modification of behavior that needs to happen. That's the key, is you want to integrate things that won't drastically impact how you need to operate your day, which is impossible if you want to do this. Like, you lose all this weight drastically and dramatically. You can't do that without interrupting your general flow of things that you do. I'm not saying you can't do it. It's just you will have to interrupt something significantly. The most sustainable approach is the patient approach, where you're like, I can either wake up in 6 months, you're like, looks like I put on a little bit more weight. Or you can wake up in 6 months, like, interesting. Seems like I lost actually a little bit of weight. And then when you're at your ideal weight or even close to your ideal weight, what will happen is in order for me to maintain this, I actually don't have to do anything differently. So from a holistic perspective, I share this because it's not just true with health. It is true with the development of any sort of productive habit. It's about the sustainable outcome because you're just going to fall back into the other pattern. So I have more than enough time to lose 5 pounds each month for 12 months. Okay, cool. Then the next thing is it feels easy and I have enough time to integrate it into my daily routine, family goals, for your work and business. So the next question becomes what would need to happen in order for it to feel easy for you to have the time to integrate it? How much time is that?
I guess like less than an hour for sure, just because I'm so busy.
Are there any other factors that would make it easy?
I think I get like, well, I generally eat like very healthy to begin with. I think a lot of my weight gain has been because of a work injury and then also like perimenopause stuff. So, like taking those into account, like feeling easy would mean that like my body doesn't feel, I guess like when I've tried like other programs before, I just feel so exhausted and it feels like it takes up so much of my day that it just doesn't feel sustainable. So something that doesn't, I don't feel like I'm hurting my body, I guess, more than helping it.
Okay, awesome. So now we look at the things we don't want it to be. So now we can reframe these. Why doesn't feel so exhausted?
Mhm.
So how does your body feel?
My body feels comfortable and relaxed and energized.
Now, do you feel like less than an hour would be sustainable on a daily basis?
Yeah.
Okay. And then don't feel like you're hurting your body more than helping it. Is that like physically how you feel like after having done it? Or
Yeah, like I have a back a back injury when I was working as a paramedic. So um I feel like I'm always walking like a fine line with like strengthening my core versus making it angry and then putting me in bed for like a week.
so you want to feel like how?
Like I'm helping my body um get to its prime state. I think it's also like partially a struggle with like perfectionism. Like I'm I'm guilty of this in other parts of my life and it's like, oh well, I don't know how to do it right. So then like why should I do it at all if I can't do it the right way? Why even go? Why put my body through this? Or the things that I've tried in the past have not produced anything. So like it just yeah, like defeated and like I don't want to put my must achieve perfection brain through any more failure.
I want to talk about this specifically because I know for certain that there are many people watching this who have come to this same conclusion. And as surprising as it may be, I'm not here to say, well, you should just do it because you can move forward. There is a reason to do it, even if you don't do it the right way, as what most people would expect me to say. But that's not the point here. The point actually is, I want to share with people watching this why that's happening in the first place and what actual cognitive justification is occurring that is causing the behavior in the first place. Because most people are like, oh my goodness, my perfectionism is stopping me from doing this and doing that. But they're not going one step deeper, asking, like, well, why might that be? Your brain is wired to keep you safe, make things as easy as possible. We'll just use the gym for example. If you're not actually confident that going to the gym is going to produce the result you're looking for, well, why would anybody go to the gym and spend all this time and energy to yield the same result that they could yield from sitting on the couch and watching Netflix? Now, if you have gone to the gym every day for 3 months and you were seeing some awesome results, your body would feel more inclined to go to the gym because it would feel like, if I sit home and I watch Netflix right now, I'm actually in more discomfort than I am from going to the gym. And because that's not the case, your brain is pushing you to not do anything. That's why you also feel this exhausting feeling, even just the thought of going to the gym. So the cause of that disparity has actually less to do with the many things that you're doing in the day and has more to do with the clarity around what would actually be required in order for you to produce the result.
Okay.
So, for example, if you knew precisely what you needed to do each day, and it would take you less than an hour, and you knew that that one thing each day would allow you to lose just over a pound a week, 5 pounds a month, would you feel the same way then you feel knowing you want to lose 50 pounds, knowing you would rather have already lost it, frankly, not exactly sure what to do in regards to how to lose it, but it's an ongoing thing that you're doing because you want to get rid of it?
It feels more manageable to integrate it into my busy life. It doesn't feel as overwhelming.
What would actually help you do that is understanding what we're talking about here. I don't know how to do it right, so I can't do it the right way at all. What is the opposite of that,
Yeah, I
right?
know what to do. And so it doesn't feel overwhelming.
So the opposite of it feeling overwhelming.
It feels, gosh, I feel like I spend so much of my life in overwhelm. It feels easy.
There we go. We just hit it. That's the sweet spot I was looking for. I was like, where is it? Right there. When you think about that, like take a moment, Jody, and think about the amount of time it took for your brain to pull up the word easy.
Hmm.
It's not a word you're unfamiliar with. If it's taking that amount of time in this condition, right, we're in a controlled environment. Is it any surprise why, when
Hmm.
you're actually interacting with the context, like, oh, I need to go to the gym, that your brain's not going to, what would be the easiest way to do this? How could this be easy?
No. Yeah, my brain is not going directly there at all.
Right? That's why I call this the sweet spot right here. Because now we get to unlock, oh, wait, where is the actual blockage? And that's what I've been looking for. Where is the spot? That's it. That's it. Because you need the answers to these questions, but we don't want the answers to these questions from a space of being super overwhelmed. Or everything I do is so overwhelming. And like, shoot, I have all this stuff I gotta do for work and business, family, and so I have to do this, but then it's gonna be fit. It's like the fitness stuff, so now I'm gonna make that work, and that's gonna be even more overwhelming. So like, and there's just the frame of mind, which is like, okay, even if you engage in a new fitness thing, you already have the thought that okay, well, it's gonna need to be something big and probably arduous that I'm gonna need to try to integrate and blah 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 blah. And like, how am I even gonna do that? It doesn't even seem possible. But that's from the lens and perspective of this. It feels like another daunting task.
A few inches later.
I have more than enough time to lose 5 pounds each month for 12 months. It feels easy, and I have time to integrate it into my daily routine. My body feels comfortable and relaxed and energized. It's less than an hour and feels sustainable. I feel like I'm helping my body to get it to its prime state. I know what to do to accomplish my goal. It feels easy, and I can do parts consistently that are more beneficial than trying to do all of it perfectly.
Now it's time for us to move to phase three, which transforms this into something actionable. Before, we have this overwhelming noise. Now we've shifted the problems to what we're actually looking to achieve. But just because we have this, it doesn't mean now I've achieved everything. It's perfect. That's not reality. You're going to reach here, and then the next most obvious thing is like, but I don't know how to do these things. It's definitely clearer because you actually know what you're looking to achieve. This is not supposed to be some illusion where it's like, okay, now that you've done that, and now it's happened, because it hasn't. But you have to do this first, or you can never get to the final phase where you're actually able to produce the result. Because all of the questions you're asking are in relationship to this. The difference between what can I do to stop struggling with prioritizing my self-care? What can I do to stop struggling going to the gym? What can I do to stop it from feeling like a daunting task? What can I do to stop it feeling like I have so much going on already with my family and my work and my business? There's a lot of stuff you could do to stop struggling prioritizing it. You could be like, okay, I'm not struggling prioritizing self-care, but like every morning I meditate and then I take a meditation like bath and I calm myself and then I start with my day. But you're still not going to reach your weight loss goals. You might still be prioritizing self-care, but you're not reaching your weight loss goals. So you're still going to experience the other things, the negative implications or results of not meeting those weight loss goals, even though these other things are happening. This is what people run into. They're trying to solve the problem because they see the problem and they're just trying to do a bunch of random shit, hoping that it solves the problem. And because it's going to fall under this umbrella, maybe they resolve that specific thing, but they're still under the umbrella of all the shit they don't want. So they're still generally experiencing the same thing they don't want. There's an infinite amount of things that can happen, which is why it's so important that we don't ask, how can I stop struggling with prioritizing my self-care? How can I stop struggling to go to the gym? How can I stop it feeling like it's another daunting task? And that those questions become asking, what can I do to have more than enough time to lose 5 pounds each month for 12 months specifically? See how different that question is and where it would
Mhm.
orient you. Let's just say it was walking 10,000 steps. If I need to walk 10,000 steps each day in order to lose 5 pounds each month, what can I do to make it feel easy to have enough time to integrate my 10,000 steps into my daily routine of family, goals, work, and business? But you see how sequentially these things are being applied to each other, even without the actual specific answer. Just as the example I gave, instead of multiple ways that you could avoid the thing you don't want and still end up with other shit you don't want, there's now multiple ways you could achieve the same result. Let's say it was walking 10,000 steps, for example. Okay, well, what could I do to make it real easy to integrate walking 10,000 steps into my daily routine of family, goals, or work and business? Normally, my partner walks the dog or the kids walk the dog. Actually, now I will walk the dog. Okay, well, that actually takes up time you weren't going to spend before. So maybe I'm going to trade roles or responsibilities with my partner. And instead of doing something else that you're presently doing that's more sedentary, we're going to swap. I'm going to walk the dog and you're going to do XYZ thing so that I can get that movement in. As one example. Another example, what I would always call my admin walks. All of my emails that get drafted while I'm moving. They're never drafted sitting at a desk because there's time that I could just be moving easily. So that's just a small example of the difference of asking the right question based on what you're actually looking to achieve. Because if you weren't trying to integrate it and you just had a bunch of free time, you wouldn't even need to do this part. Maybe it has nothing to do
Yeah.
even walking. Maybe it has to do with like fasting in the morning or figuring out the amount of meals versus the caloric content of the meals. All of these things are possible to find out. But the main point is, what would I need to do to be able to do this in under an hour? And then what would I need to do in order to integrate that under an hour into my family and goals and work with business? And maybe you can't integrate the whole 60 minutes, but maybe you can integrate 30 minutes of it. And then another 30 minutes of it you do separately. Or maybe in order for you to reach this goal, you find out, you actually are going to need to spend an hour and a half. So then you find a way to integrate an hour into what you already do and only 30 minutes out of it. And you can still get that. But the next question, when I'm doing this thing, what could be the thing that has my body feel comfortable, relaxed, and energized? It's probably not doing P90X.
Right.
It's not to say that's bad, but based on your particular objectives, you're looking to do that within the year. That just may not be necessary in order for you to reach that goal, losing 5 pounds each month, feeling like you're helping your body get to its prime state. And then the next most logical question is, what can I do to ensure that I know what to do to accomplish my goal so it feels easy? This is a question you can only ask if you've gone through this process, because your question isn't just generally, how can I like lose weight? It's now, I'm going to find a professional and tell them specifically, I am looking to lose at least 5 pounds a month for the next 12 months. What will I need to do in order to achieve that specifically? In 30 days, you'd be able to measure, is this producing the result? You don't need to get to the end of the year and be like, oh, this didn't work, which is what most people would be doing. They're like, okay, it's been 30 days. I don't know if this is even working, but they actually haven't even mapped out how long it would take to see a reasonable result. So they might even be on the right track, but they're feeling disempowered from what they're seeing. And so then they stop taking those behaviors. You lose 5 pounds in 1 month. That's not that much, but it doesn't need to be that much for you to reach your goal. If you know that you're looking to lose 5 pounds consistently, you'd be like, oh shit, I lost the 5 pounds. Let's go. Next month is going to be another 5. And if I keep doing this, in 5 months, I will have lost 25 pounds. When it first starts, it's a little slower, but when you get on the other end and you're like, okay, I actually lost 35 pounds, Then when you lose your next 5 pounds, oh shit, I lost 40 pounds. Then as I lost 45 pounds, then I lost 50 pounds. It starts to move in this direction, and then it becomes a lot more difficult to not maintain your weight when you're doing something you've already integrated into your lifestyle. And it will start to evolve even further and in even more peculiar and bizarre ways. You're literally on the episode of a YouTube series that is centered around me helping people solve their problems while walking backwards. Like, I could be doing this sitting down, but I was like, well, how would I do that sitting down when I could do this walking? Which sounds kind of ridiculous, but I lost 20 pounds just by walking. Every person I tell this to, they're like, okay, but like, what else? Like, were you walking to the gym to go work out? I'm like, no, I wasn't actually. I was just walking. I was working out maybe once every week and a half. And I was just walking 10,000 steps a day because I did the math, and it was the highest yield activity that I could do. And it seems so simple. And most people are like, well, it's got to be more complicated. And it doesn't have to be more complicated. It's just, how are you going to integrate it? And if you can integrate it in a way that actually can make things simple, you would be surprised at how much of an impact it's going to make. I share this all because when I started, I was walking somewhere between 200 to 1,200 steps a day. And I was like, let me just try to walk 5,000 steps a day. That's going to be my goal. And I started that, and that was like maybe 3 weeks or maybe a month. I did that until I was like locked in. I was able to do that. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to try 7,500. And then by the time I did that, it was like maybe a week and a half. That half the time I ended up getting to 10. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go for 10, but I won't go any less than 5. And by the end of the year, I just started to see the other things in my life that I was doing while sitting. And then I just started to integrate them into my walks. And then it started to give me more energy. And then I was like, wait a second, this is crazy. I'm actually getting more stuff done. At the end of the day, I would go to bed more easily, and then I would wake up earlier. And I was like, wait, I actually got back the same hour and a half I spent walking, even if I didn't add stuff to the walk. And I was like, wait, how did I get more time from adding this? And it's because I asked myself this question. What could I do to make it feel easier? Now, without going on a massive tangent, I want to ask you if going through this process of actually transforming these into questions, does this at all impact your ability to take whatever next steps would actually be required for you to do this? And you do not have to say, yes, I actually want to know if this is helpful for you for the next step to take.
Yeah, it's almost like a boundary requirement when it comes to maybe interviewing a trainer or working with somebody that's going to help me achieve this goal or give me the answers I need, instead of them pushing their system on me because these are my requirements.
Key. They might even be the best, but are they the best at what you're specifically looking for? They might be the best at having somebody lose a lot of weight in a short amount of time, but they're helping stay at home moms that aren't simultaneously working and running a business.
Two businesses too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's different requirements there for you to be able to say, no, I'm looking for the sustainable approach for me to lose more than 5 pounds a month. I'm not looking for this rocket science, like P90X, like whatever. How many people have you helped to do this? Not how many people have you helped get ripped and blah, 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 blah. Like, I want to see the people that you've helped just steadily do this and integrate it into their lives sustainably and easily, because that's my game plan. Show me your approach for how it integrates into my life. You're not going to know everything. And I would even caution against evaluating their approach per se, because if they actually know how to do it and you don't know how to do it, you can't validate their approach. The key is for you to know the result. When you can come to somebody like that with the key result, you'd be surprised how many people will explicitly tell you, I'm actually not the person for this. Talk to this person, because they're going to have egg on their face by just saying, yeah, I can, but not being able to deliver. Because you've been super clear with what it is, which is very different than if you come to them with some ambiguous, I want to lose weight. Well, I can help people lose weight. With that being said, of course, the main point of this was to demonstrate the key process that needs to be taken in order for you to achieve the objectives of the weight loss goal for other people prioritizing their health so that they can understand the very first thing they actually need to do is get abundantly clear on the outcome and the actual result, because that is what will inform the questions they can ask. And the more clear, more powerful the questions they can ask, the better answers they are going to get. The quality of the questions that we ask is a direct reflection of the quality of the life we're going to get to have.
Even though I've done a lot of this for my goals for work, I haven't, like, in regards to like my personal goals. I was like, I'll deal with that later. You know, it's the same fundamentals, but sometimes, you know, when you're in the thick of it with the other stuff, you lose sight of the other things that you got to focus on too. I have definitely wasted a lot of money, you know, on that stuff, and yeah, it has been a goal, and I'm just like, well, thinking, you know, more strategically about like where my finances go and what I'm choosing to focus my money on. And it is like, I don't think I would have had that perspective. I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna, you know, they must have like I wasted a bunch of money on like bread. I'm just like they didn't even listen to like my needs. And I was like, this should have been a red flag, like up front. Like, why did I even waste my time and energy on this? Because it's not in line with where I'm at. I don't think I would have had that perspective if we were visiting this like at the beginning. I probably still wouldn't have been able to come to that conclusion near as quickly as we did today either. You know, there's so many coaching programs like in regards to business out there, and I look at it with a different eye now. Like, why are we wasting our time? It's literally taking up time on my timeline, and I am not benefiting anything out of this. This is a waste of time and money. Put $1,500 back in my pocket each month.
There's a lot of neurodiverse entrepreneurs, professionals, creators who struggle to prioritize their health and wonder, why am I taking care of everyone else and not taking care of myself? What ends up happening is they spend all their time, their energy, and the money, and it could be with a fitness professional, it could be with some sort of coach for this or that, but they're still going to end up spending time, energy, and money they don't need to spend because they haven't got clarity on the result that is going to direct, who do I speak to? What do I put all my time and energy into? And they get more on their plate. They feel more overwhelmed because they have more things to do. They have less time to do those things. They're not getting the results. And it ends up just creating more of the thing they were trying to avoid in the first place, because it starts to have negative impacts on their health, which makes doing everything else they were doing even harder versus doing the complete opposite, which is getting to the root of what is causing the problem. So if you are watching this, you have two choices. Smash your keyboard like a lost dog on YouTube and spend all your time figuring out whatever you're trying to figure out. Or you can actually work with somebody who knows how to produce the result you're looking to produce when you're actually clear on what the result is. If the first thing you need to do is get clear on the result, then you would be best suited to work with somebody who can actually help you get clear on that result. So if you're watching this and you want to be able to spend your time, your energy, your money, your resources on something that's going to have a positive yield on your life, click the link in the description of this video, because that is what the 25-hour day is about. If this is expanding your perspective and allowing you to realize, well, wait a second, I think I was actually stuck for a completely different reason than I thought. Here's your newsflash. The problem is not you. The problem is you haven't learned how to leverage the way that the neurodiverse brain naturally works. So if you'd like to do that, click the link in the description, or don't keep playing around on YouTube. Until next time, thanks, Jerry.
You always in a state. Every moment you occupy.